Ryder, I'm going to have you go ahead and mute just because I'm recording, okay? And then if you have a question, go ahead and ask it. Because that's not a big deal to have it on there. Okay, so before we do anything, let's draw a line here and put a circle. You'll see why in a minute. Okay, Sarah says that 156 divided by 24 equals 102 divided by 15 because both are 6 remainder 12. Show her mistake using decimal division. So put a box around decimal division, please. So what I'm going to do is write both problems. And then I'm going to write 6 remainder 12. You don't need to write 6 remainder 12. Just write the 6. Because we're going to erase the remainder. Because it says we have to prove or show her mistake using decimal division. So we're gonna decide which one is larger, because one of them is. All right? Remember, only decimal division produces exact answers. Okay? So all I have to do in my guess and check is write 24 times 6 here. What'd you get?
144.
Okay, go ahead and subtract. And I bet we're going to get 12. Okay, so now decimal division means I do what? Before I add a 0, write the decimal. Then you can drop the 0 down. Now we're not going to skip count by 24s. We're just going to figure this out. I know 6 is too big, so what should I try? 5. So I'm going to do 24 times 5. Does it work?
Yes.
Okay. So the answer here is 6 and a half, or 6 and 5/10. Okay? You with me? What will I take times 15 over here? Yes. What'd you get?
90.
And I'm guessing the remainder is? Very good. You're finishing my sentences for me. Okay, and we're using decimal division, so before I can add a 0, put the decimal on there. We don't want to change the value of 102. So now, 15 times what equals 120? Well, I know it's more than 6.
8.
I think it's 8. Let's see if Jesus is right.
Yeah.
Okay. So now I have exact answers, and I have proven that one of them is larger. Which one's larger?
6.8.
Very good. Okay, the next question. Ryder, on the next question, your numbers are incorrect. So you will need to cross off the number that's on there and write 6,825. And then the width of the rectangle is 65. And when you've got those changed, let me know. So let me read this question. A rectangular playground has an area of 6,825 square meters. If the width of the rectangle is 65 meters, find the length. Now, I want to write a formula before we start. Any guesses to what the formula is?
Length times width.
You got it. Area equals length times width. Write that down. Okay? So now that I have that done, I'm going to remind you about area. Area goes in the middle, And then we've got our width and our length, and it doesn't really matter which way. Don't write that. Don't write it. Okay? They gave us the area, didn't they? 6,825 meters squared. You can write that in your rectangle. What else did they give us? The width. What is the width? 65 meters. So, remember, in 4th grade, we did length times width to get area, and we wrote our answer in the middle, okay? In 5th grade, we've been practicing long division. We don't have anything to multiply times 65, do we? This is actually my question mark here. So what's the opposite of multiplication? Division. Okay, and when you do your division, I need your 3 columns. Very important. So 6,825 divided by 65. Where should I put my box?
Around the 68.
Around the 68. So that means, don't write these X's, but how many digits will I have in my answer? 3. So how many times will I need to estimate? Very good. What should I skip count by? 70. Or should I do 60? Okay, we're going to stick with 70. I'll stop there. I don't really know how far we need to go, but if we need to go further, we can. Okay, so the first one, what number is going to be closest to 68? 70. Yeah, because I rounded it up, so I know that 65 will fit there. So we're going to try a 1. So over here in the guess and check, if it helps you not accidentally write 70, write 65 times 1. Okay, is 3 less than 65?
Yeah.
Bring down the 2. What number is closest to 32 without going over?
0.
Oh, you guys are so good. So I'm going to write a 0, and I really feel like we do better if we go ahead and write the 0 there and subtract. It's up to you, though. Okay, so now I bring down my 5. Did I skip count high enough? Yeah, it kind of looks like I did. Okay, so do you want to try the 280 or the 350? 280? So take it times 4? 65 times 4. You think it's a 5. I think you might be right. That's not very big, is
I
it?
think it's a 5.
Okay. You already checked it? Yeah. Okay, so everybody do 65 times 5. Okay. So now we know the length, don't we? What is the length? 105 meters. Okay? All right, how do you feel about that one? The one on your test tomorrow does have a 0. And I think it might even start with a 1. I'm not sure. Okay? So let's go down and look at the next one. Maybe. Okay, do you remember that a lot of times on these tests, I've got one problem that I have to get correct because my answer to this one is going to affect the next problem and the next problem. Okay, so tomorrow when you do this, number 3A, you got to check it with me first. Because I want you to get this one right so that you don't miss the next two questions. Okay? All right. So this is a two-part question. A baker uses 7.5 pounds of flour daily. Now, he's making a lot of something because that's a lot of flour. Okay? How many ounces of flour will he use in 2 weeks? I've got some important things here, don't I? Yeah. And I even kind of set this up because we're going to do a conversion. So we have to convert pounds to ounces. And then we've got to figure out 2 weeks. Now this is 1 day, right? So how many days will be in 2 weeks? 14. Okay, I'm going to put that there. Just to give myself a little information for when I move on. Okay? All right, you guys remember how to do this?
Yeah.
So I'm going to start with 1 pound. How many ounces are in a pound?
16.
Very good. Now, what do I take times 16? 7.5 times 16. Do you have room to do that on your paper? Okay. So go ahead and do 7.5 times 16. And don't forget your decimal. So how many ounces of flour will it be? 120, and that's nice because that's a good whole number. We don't have any decimals to deal with, do we? Oops, I forgot ounces right here. Okay, don't have side conversations unless it's a question. Okay, so we know how much he uses in a day. Did I mess up on my multiplication?
No.
Okay. So now we're going to figure out 2 weeks. So I'm going to take 120 times what, Jaden? 14. And do I have any decimals in this number? No. Is this turtle head?
Yes.
Yes. It's pretty easy, turtle head, isn't it? Okay, that's not really a sentence, but I went ahead and wrote the answer. Okay, now that number's 1,680 ounces we need for the next question, and it's on the back. So go to the back. What was my answer just now? Write it down. I'm even going to put a bubble around it. This came from my thoughts on the other side of the page. So let's read question B now. The baker's recipe for a loaf of bread calls for 16 ounces of flour. How many pounds was that?
1.
Oh, good. If he uses all his flour to make loaves of bread, how many full loaves can he make? So what this means is, if I have a remainder, I don't get to count that as a loaf. Actually, you're not going to have a remainder on this one, but I think you will on the test. So we'll talk about it. So I need my 3 columns, correct?
Yes.
And my problem is going to be 1,680 divided by 16. Where should I put my box? Around the 16. So that means I'm going to have how many digits? 3. So I will estimate how many times? Very good. What should I round my divisor to? 20 or 15, and I'm going to use 15 because I'm thinking ahead. So take a look at C. It's got a 13 in it. So if I write my 15s now, I can use them twice. And I think your test will be the same way. I'm not positive. So I usually go to 120, and that's far enough. Yeah, you can use 15 on your test. Okay, so what number's closest to 16 without going over? 15. So we're going to use a 1. Whoops, what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? I put a 15. What should it be? 16. Okay, so I checked, is 0 less than 16? Then I brought down an 8. So I'm ready to divide. After you write your arrow, you have to go over here to your multiples and see which one is closest to 8. 0. Are you getting used to that 0 now? Okay. So, you know, there's 2 ways to do it. I can go ahead and write 0 and write 8. And then bring down the 0. Or I can just bring it down. Okay? So which one of these are we going to try closest to 80? 75. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So in the guess and check, Sergio, what do I write? 16 times 5. Oh, good. Yeah, that's nice. And I'm not going to go ahead and finish mine out because we're not going to be able to see it. I think I'll just do this. That work? Yeah. Okay, so how many full loaves can he bake in 2 weeks? 105. So I'm going to write he can bake 105 loaves. Now you're going to have to answer in a sentence on this one because on the test, I'm getting ready to tell you something, okay? You're going to have remainder, I don't know what it is, remainder 2 maybe or something, okay? So does that remainder count as a full loaf of bread? No, it's just leftover flour. You'll put back in the jar or whatever. The full loaves are the quotient, not the remainder, okay? You'll have a remainder tomorrow. And I don't know if it's remainder 2, and I really don't think your answer is going to be 105. So you'll have to answer with the sentence there. Okay? Now, you know how things keep going and going and going? Whatever you get on B, you need on C. So do you need to come and show me your answer for B before you do C? Yes, you do. Okay. You got that? The baker sends all his bread to one store. If he can pack up to 13 loaves of bread in a box for shipping, what is the minimum number of boxes required to ship all the loaves? This is very important. Put a box around it. Baked in 2 weeks. Reminder, Use a remainder, not decimal division. Okay? All right. So what's my problem going to be?
105 times 13.
Times?
No, I mean divided by.
Divided by 13. Where should I put my box? Around the whole thing. You don't have to. But if it helps you know where to write your answer, then do it. So I just have to estimate one time. And I already skip counted by 15s, didn't I?
Yeah.
So which one's closest to 105?
15.
105. And I'm rounding this to 15. So that's 7. So over here, what will I write?
13 times 7.
13 times 7. I don't know if it's going to work. It feels like it's going to be too small.
It's 91. I think we can go bigger.
Let's try one more, okay? Just to know.
Yeah, that one is better.
Oh, that's better.
Yeah, that's way better.
So does the 8 work?
Yes.
Yes. And I'm going to have 1 loaf of bread left over. And I want you to write remainder 1. Because it says use a remainder. Okay? Now we've got to write a sentence. What is the minimum number of boxes needed to ship all the loaves? 9. Who said it? I'm going to ship 1 box with just 1 loaf in it, aren't I? It says all the loaves. So 1 box, we're going to have to put a bunch of that packing stuff in there, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yes, or maybe get a smaller box. But he will need how many boxes to need 9. You had some of these in 4th grade. Do you remember them at all? He will need 9. So it's going to be 1 more than what your quotient is if you have a remainder. So these two are opposite. Did you notice that? Anybody notice that? So this one right here, we're going to leave the remainder off when we make our answer because it wants full loaves. This one right here, we have to count our remainder when we make our answer because it wants all the loaves. Okay? Let's keep going. So on this one, I don't want it sloppy, but we're going to have to write some things in the problem so you can keep things straight in your head. Okay? So I'm going to read it, and then we're going to circle some things. It says, the baker pays 70 cents per pound for sugar and $1.15 per pound for butter. Write an expression that shows how much the baker will spend if he buys 5 pounds of butter and 25 pounds of sugar. Do not solve. Now, here's what I want to do. Carefully, I want you to circle sugar and 70 cents and connect it. And don't make this sloppy. So the sugar costs 70 cents. They're trying to confuse you by keeping these words far apart. And then the butter costs $1.15. Did you do that? Yeah. Okay, now we're going to do it again. So for 5 pounds of butter, that's how much they're going to buy. And 25 pounds of sugar. Now here's what they want you to do. They want you to get confused. Because did you notice they mentioned sugar, then butter at the beginning? But then in the second sentence, they use butter, then sugar. So let's start with sugar here. Write sugar and write butter. Okay? How much sugar, Fernanda, are we going to buy? 25 pounds. Morgan, how much does the sugar cost? Got it? Adam, how much butter are we going to buy? 5 pounds. How much does the butter cost? Yasmin? You're done. That's all you have to do. Write the expression, that's it. Think you can handle that? Okay. Now, the next one's a little trickier, but you can do it. I'm going to help you. So I'm going to read it, and then we'll write some things. Chocolate sprinkles cost as much per pound as sugar. Okay, how much was sugar per pound? 70 cents. Let's write that down. I think on the test it's 80 cents, so it's not much different, okay? Now this is the part that kids think they can't do, but trust me, you can. Find 1/10 the baker's total cost for 100 pounds of chocolate sprinkles. Explain the number of zeros and the placement of the decimal in your answer using a place value chart. So I want to put a box around 1/10, and I want to put a box around 100. And if you don't practice for your test, you're not going to remember how to do this. So we've got to take it times 1/10 and times 100. And I want to take it times 100 first, because that's easier, isn't it? Okay, so I'm going to write 70 cents times 100. Don't solve it yet. Now they want to know if you can put 70 cents on that place value chart. Can you do it?
Yeah.
I hope so. Okay, now if I take this times 100, I'm going to rewrite it. What will I do? How many times? 2 times to the right. Why 2? Because 100 has 2 zeros. Then I'm going to erase my old decimal, my lines, and my 0. And what's my answer?
700.
What? 70. Only hop it twice. Can you put 70 on a place value chart?
Yes.
Oh, good. You're done with that one. Okay? Now, here's the thing. Whatever you get for an answer here, you've got to put on your place value chart over here. So can you put 70 on here? Okay, go ahead and do it. Now, what do we have left to do? 70 times 1/10. Do you remember how to do this? You actually divide. But we are going to put that little 1 under the 70, right? And then we're going to, watch where I'm pointing. 70 times 1 equals 70. 1 times 10 equals 10. 70 divided by 10 equals. Now, you're not done. You've got to put 7 on the place value chart. Can you do that? Okay. Now there's more.
Total cost.
So, how many dollars do you think this is? Or cents? $7. So my answer here is going to be $7. That's it. That is your test for tomorrow.
I thought we had to add the sugar and the butter.
No, you don't.